Shall we move to the demo? Hey,
If it,
you
Let's
know
see
the
this
bar is
thing.
high now, so
yeah, I'm happy to do that. So Asana is just a good, platform for me to demo as if I'm putting the hat of a solution engineer or product marketer at Asana that wants to build a demo of Asana, let's say for the website, right? Then what I do is I open my own platform, in this case Asana, and Walnut is an extension, right? It's the browser extension. That's why we say you have to be a SaaS company in order to use us, because we have to open the platform on an extension. And then I can create what we call a template. So I'll call this podcast template, right? And then I save it. It just does a little refresh, so it's ready to go. And then the first part of using Walnut is what we call the capture process. We want to make it as easy as possible to capture all the different screens and elements you want to include in your demo. So you have this thing called continuous capture, which means that every click will be captured. You can do like timed if you want to make sure you have enough little countdown to open a little drop down. There's a lot of different ways to make it easier. I'll put continuous capture and I'll click play here. And then what happens, you'll see that this little one here, so it's capturing this first screen. And now it's ready. And if I go to my tasks, with every click I do, the screen will be captured, right? So the whole idea is that if, let's say I want these three screens, so home, my tasks, inbox, and let's say I want goals, right? So this took what, like 30 seconds, and I captured these four screens. So we want to make that super easy. Now I'm going to pause it, and I'm going to go into Walnut with this button. So now what I'm seeing is those four screens from Asana with the names that were automatically captured, but they're now within Walnut, right? So if I go in here and I click preview, you'll see that it looks and feels like the real thing, right? Like hovers work. It doesn't feel like a screenshot. But if I click, you see this little kind of like flashy thing. It just tells me what was mapped and what wasn't. So if I go to my tasks or inbox or goals, I can go between those four as much as I want. But if I want to click on portfolio, it won't let me because I didn't map that. And that's on purpose because you don't want to just show everything and let people just play with your product, especially when it's a marketing use case. That never goes well. You want to show them a specific use case within your platform by mapping only the relevant pieces of information. So we brought everything in, and now we can start editing. So now I can say, instead of good afternoon, Noam, I can say, good afternoon, John, right? So I can change anything on the screen. Instead of September, I want it to be October 26th, whatever I want. And I could even change this to be like a variable where it's not always going to be John, but like a sales rep that is launching a demo from this template can, insert the prospect name or insert the prospect logo, right? There's a lot of different things I would like to change, but I can change anything, right? Instead of upgrade, I want it to say try now. Instead of upcoming, I want to delete the upcoming, so I just remove and delete this element, right? So it just gives me a way to play with a replication of my product. So I'm not touching anything in my actual backend, of course. Like I'm not ruining anything. This is like a copy that I can play with to tell the right story, whether it's on a live call or on the marketing front. Does that make sense?
yep.
Yeah, and how do you see teams using this for the most part? Like, is the engineering or SE team creating these templates and then they're editing it, or are sales teams actually creating some of these templates as well?
No, so this would be the SE. Like if it's the sales
Yeah.
use case, it will be the SE doing everything so far that I did. And it's going to be like a product marketer doing it if it's a marketing use case. Or maybe if it's a small team, the SE can do it for the marketing team as well.
Yep.
But this will all be anything on the template work, which is what we're doing now, would be an SE. But then when you launch a demo, that's what a sales rep would do, right? So if
Cool.
I make this a variable and I say, instead of good morning, John, when a rep launches it, they will be able to input whatever they want to this value. So you want to keep it like the SEs are the one building and the AEs are the ones presenting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if I'm this like a sales use case, I now have this environment that I can go between these four tabs. It will always tell the same story that I want it to. But now let's say I want to put this on my website. That's where we have this thing called guides. So I can create a new guide, which would be a bunch of annotations and bubbles guiding you through a process instead of just, all the different tabs that you can click wherever you want. So we'll create this new guide, click save, and then I'll add a step. And then I'll attach it to this whole element. and then I can start putting it as a modal in the middle. And I can say, welcome to this Asana demo. And I can do whatever I want. Like I can change the fonts, I can brand it, I can add videos, I can add audio, I can even use the OpenAI to help me craft this by, just using it to be a lot more creative with the way I tell my story. But the idea is that this bubble exists here now on the front page, and I can click done, and I can go to the next page and say okay, now I want it to go to my tasks. So the next step would be my tasks. And I'll say, these are my tasks. Again, I'm going through a very, very simple and basic flow. But now if I click preview, you'll see that it says, welcome to this Asana demo. And I can't click anywhere because I want them to go through the buttons, the next buttons, right? And if I click next, it will go, here are my tasks. So this is more of what we call asynchronous flow, where someone is viewing it and someone is engaging with the demo on their own time, which would be a website, which would be if you send it to someone. So that's where you want to guide them through those little bubbles, showing them where they need to go. But if you're using it for the use case of a sales rep presenting live or an SE presenting live, that's where you will have what we call linear, which is the asynchronous one. And we have non-linear, which would be the one that's for live demoing, like what you see here when you just click wherever is mapped already.
Got it. So I'm assuming you're creating this processes, right? So you have multiple use cases by persona, by ICP, perhaps, different industries and maybe some specific things that the product can serve. And then you're building these flows, and then the sales teams and the SEs, they can use it as they work with the prospects and the customers. My question is, how do you measure success of these flows?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do have insights. So it's interesting that you brought that up. But the idea is that we do measure everything, right? So you can see, for example, this is our embed on our website. You can see the amount of sessions, the amount of viewers. You can see the different funnel between the screens, like how many people convert from screen to screen, right? They all start here. How many people go to this screen versus that screen? So as an SE, you get a lot of feedback also about how many guides they've seen, what is the completion rate. There's a lot of different insights that you can get from an SE's perspective to understand, hey, this is a good demo, right? And that is the easiest one to start with, where it's hey, let's evaluate everything with the product itself. We now actually literally this week, we're launching our V2 of our Salesforce integration, where you can tell a much more interesting story tied to the company objectives. So it's how much quicker are deals moving when you show them a demo versus when you don't? Is the sales cycle shorter? Are the deals larger? There's a lot of different ROI metrics you can assign now when you're merging that with business information coming from Salesforce, right? So you can understand and you can see hey, do opportunities close more when you show them a demo at stage 2 or when you show them a demo at stage 3? All these questions can now be answered. And that's what a VP sales, head of sales, CRO cares about. That's where you have a lot more interesting conversations. Don't get me wrong, I used to be an SC, so I don't think it's not interesting, the conversations you will have at an SC, but they're a lot more tactical. It's hey, my demo is, people get stuck at step 5 out of 10. People get to step, whatever. But if you can actually go to CRO and say hey, when you do a demo in stage 2, you close 40% higher than if you don't do a demo at all, then the CRO will be buy this now.
I have a very important question. Was that a Walnut demo that you just showed us?
No.
Missed opportunity.
I'll tell you what. We do sometimes do that. The problem is that when you do a Walnut demo on a Walnut demo, people get confused because you're kind of in inception mode.
Yep.
Right? And which level is reality? We do have our SDRs do a Walnut demo of a demo, but I as a partnership person do my own thing kind of.
No, totally fine. Gets a little too meta.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know if you're in the demo or if you're in the actual, and you're just wait, I clicked, and just it's very confusing.